Lo parliamo tutti inglese ai sommersi.
Non possiamo scegliere un'altra lingua. Allora,
Solo perché tu mi hai parlato a cose di
sai italiano? A posto così.
dico che si parla la regia.
No, dico tutti
Do you have informed consent?
Of course!
Dobbiamo un attimo allargare il centro. No, poi magari arriva qualcuno, ci vuole sempre l'asseggio
Dell'amico immaginario.
inatteso.
Wow. Io sono molto leggera, tu sei molto forte. Magari c'è. Come sempre. Adesso non questi spettatori che guardano le
Professionalità proprio. Non come professionale. Almeno inquadrane bene, che si preparino a sono in cinema.
Ciao Harry!
Visto, ci hai visto presto.
Quindi pratico anche la foto, quello che ha di oggi.
21 marzo apro lo scatto di infradito, poi non vedo.
4 persone.
Ok.
E non sono neanche io una di 4. Però è ancora in quadro chiaro.
Voi ci siete?
Quelli che ci sono ci siamo.
Angelo, tu ci sei? Vieni qui. Ok, vuol dire che ci sono popolazioni in Italia? Allora, benvenuti. Pensavamo di fare questo incontro in inglese. È una cosa che si può fare. C'è qualcuno che è molto in difficoltà, che avrebbe bisogno di una traduzione? Non chiedi la traduzione?
No, se
si fa
qualcosa no, diciamo qualcosa no.
Ah, no, infatti.
Comunque se c'è qualcuno che proprio non capisce, come al solito possiamo fare.
Sì, infatti, se
la
qualcuno vuole la
traduzione
traduzione la possiamo fare.
non per tutti, ma facciamo.
Tu Nicola sei di traduzione?
Ok, se no possiamo farla così che in ogni momento che uno capisce alza la mano e lo segnala, e siccome sicuramente sarà abbastanza interattivo, se non avete voglia di parlare in inglese parlate in italiano e io o qualcun altro traduce proprio il massimo.
Sì. Non soltanto sulla traduzione, perché immagino che ci saranno molti fatti, personaggi, processi, eventi sconosciuti a molte persone. Quindi per seguire, se c'è ma io non so che cos'è questo, non preoccuparti di chiedere.
Ok. E stiamo registrando, vabbè, spero che nessuno dia.
Non è che siamo registrati, sono proprio on air.
Siamo on air. Ok. So I just want to start by thanking Arlene and Maria. We come from a long distance and from a long history of activism in health. They are both part of the people's health movement, but in a very broad sense, they are part of the struggle for health and the history of this struggle, particularly in Central and Latin America. We have the privilege of having them with us because they're then moving to another international event, but for a few days they're just for us. So we're trying to exploit them a little bit. The reason for this meeting is to give an opportunity for people who are interested in social movements and health to get to know a little bit, both about their personal histories and about the struggles that they led. But as you will see, they are also very interested in us all. So we will try to have a little sharing. The first thing that they asked, I know Annie already went around with everyone, but maybe we can have a very quick round that everybody can say his or her name and what he studies or what he or she does as a job. Okay? So I will start, Anja, and I'll stay at the Center for International Health.
I'm doing a master's degree in anthropology.
I'm Angelo, I work with Karen and in society.
Hi, I'm Irene, and I study medicine in second year.
Michele, and I study medicine in fourth year.
And I'm also a resident in Africa.
My name is Henry. I'm the third year of medicine at Medicine University, and I belong to the group of Prometeo, which is the group where many of us were with an association.
I'm Milo, and I'm a medical student here at fifth year, and I'm also part of the group of Prometeo.
I'm Mariana, I'm a nurse, and I'm attending the Centro. Okay, I'm just graduated. And I'm in my fifth year of medical school as well, and I'm part of group of Prometeo.
I'm a medical doctor. I'm a researcher at the Centro for International.
I'm a medical doctor, and I'm searching for a job.
I'm Chiara, I'm a medical doctor, I'm going to start my specialization.
Hello, I'm Alessandra, and I'm studying or trying to study pharmacy.
I'm Luca, and I'm a nurse. I come from Rome, and I'm chef for a job here, and also in Africa or America, to work with cooperation and the other organization.
I'm Martina, I study anthropology, and I'm part of the CSE.
I'm Angelo, I'm
I'm Nicholas, I'm from PHL in London, and I'm studying medicine and level.
I'm Maria. I live in Nicaragua, and I'm part of the people's health movement worldwide in Latin America.
I'm Annie, Sister Notre Dame, and I live in São Luís do Maranhão in Brazil, northeast.
Okay. Good. Okay. So we'll maybe start by asking Annie and Maria. Or Maria and Annie.
Oh, wait. There's somebody over here that didn't say her name in public.
Oh.
No.
I am Mariana, I'm a medical doctor, and I collaborate with
I'm not managing.
CSI.
There we go.
Thank you.
Il vomito degli telespettatori da casa.
Okay. So,
I'm telling you the story.
Okay.
Maria is being very sweet and educata, polite, age before beauty. Do they know those expressions?
I don't think so, because I didn't understand. Age before beauty.
Yeah.
Age and less.
Okay. I don't know if they know your age.
Age is a matter, it's only a matter of thought. You understand? It's what you think. That's what age is, what you think. If you go by your chronological years, I'm 90 years old. And 2 months from now, I'll be 91. I'm very good at mathematics. What do you want me to say?
Yeah, ask a question.
I was about to ask a question. Okay. No, my question would be, you both want to share when and how you got involved with activism or movements.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I've been engaged in movement since I was knee-high with grasshopper. Since I was been to movement. But right now, for the last 44 years, it's been popular education in health. Okay. But before that, there was many movements, political movements in the United States. I was born in the United States, but my culture is Lebanese. I'm not really American in the sense of growing up in the American society. It's more Lebanese. We had in the 60s, the decade of the 60s, we had manifestations all over to try to bring Nestle, the corporation of Nestle, to change its policies and to change its formulas in creating powdered milk. Because the type of formula they were using, and they were saying at that time that it was the same chemistry of a mother's breast milk, and it was not. Okay, so since then, and other political movements, so that by the time I went to Brazil in 1971, I was already aware, very much aware, of the injustices against the health of people by international and transnational companies. Okay.
È chiaro?
I didn't say that. Well, can somebody tell me what I said?
In English.
Italian? Yeah. Yeah, Italian. And then you can tell me. Can somebody tell me what I just said? Yes.
Di assumere quello che ha detto.
In italiano.
Facciamo la prova.
Che tengo le sere.
Ah, c'è un film, te, sai. ma insomma, riassumendo, famiglia negli Stati Uniti, famiglia di origine libanese, comincia il periodo dell'attivismo, soprattutto a partire dall'allattamento con il latte artificiale Nestlé, che veniva in quel momento come si dice, pubblicizzato come un latte che aveva la stessa composizione del latte naturale della madre, ma invece non lo era. Quindi questo è stato il primo momento di contatto con i movimenti.
Sì, poi è andata in Brasile nel 1971 a occuparsi di educazione popolare. Vabbè.
Popular education. Don't you want to know what I said? They're all saying yes, but see, they didn't.
No, I think they did, they tried.
Oh, shit. We're not used to speaking English. We're not used to speaking English. But you can speak in Italian.
But there's
Do you understand?
that's clear enough.
There's Spanish, Italian, French, Germany,
Portuguese.
No, let's do a dynamic to take them away from the shyness.
Okay. Yeah.
That's.
Okay,
Boys on this side.
Gender issue.
Girls.
Tutti ragazzi a questo alto, tutti ragazzi a basso.
Yeah, get in a row.
Fila.
Okay. I am going to count. 1, 2, 3, huh? Come on. I say 1, the men take 1 step. I say 2, the girls take 1 step. I say 3, the boys take 1 step more. 4 more. You got it? Okay. Then I say 5, and everybody takes 2 jumps.
2 jumps.
2. Got it?
2.
This is a test, exam, an examination. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, straight. Okay, everybody, all the men give the girls a hug.
Vi prego ragazzi, rispondete la prossima volta. Dite cose.
Now, speak Italian. Okay. So,
Annie says popular education. Popular education means. Does somebody know what popular education means? Is there another word for popular education?
Peer education. Peer.
Well, peer education and popular education. Another idea?
Quality education.
What kind of education have you had most of your life?
School.
Formal education. Somebody's talking to you and you're absorbing it. We call that banking education. Have you heard of that? Banking. If I were a bank, if I were a piggy bank, And you put things into.
Porcellino, salvadanaio.
And then you have an exam and you have to pick it all up. So it's called banking education, formal education is banking education. And then you use what's in the bank and you give it back to your professor. But the kind of education that Annie's talking about is informal, it's not usually done in an academic setting, although you can have in this kind of education in an academic sphere. But most professors like to talk, yeah? And they don't want to be interrupted by the student asking them questions or putting their opinion on the line. You're expected to feedback what they give you. Isn't that the way you had your classes? Would you have to memorize something and then give it back in some way or the other? Right? So it's informal education. It's participatory education. Yeah? It can be peer education, but not necessarily peers. It can be done with people who are not peers as well. Okay. So, go ahead. But it's a great woman, right? You know, we've known each other for a long time. And we've worked together for a very long time. And, well, anyway. So, you were going to tell me about your experience. Well, getting back to the question on upper movements, the work I'm doing now is working in communities, but I'm not sure if everybody here has known Paulo Freire. Some people have. Paulo Freire. Well, Paulo Freire was a great university educator in Brazil. And during the dictatorship, Paulo Freire, well, he was still youngish, but had experience, began to realize that he was learning from the students much more than he thought he was giving to the students. And that many of the students who came to the university were from the campo, from the interior. They were farmers, and their parents were farmers, and they were farmers. So they weren't like quick on formal education, taking it in as quickly as those who were brought up in a city. But he began to see in those students, there was a value of wisdom far deeper than in the students that were from the city. Not to make comparison, but it was an obvious analysis he came to. So he decided with some of his students to go in the campo where they grew up. And he began talking with their parents, with the community, and he began seeing the marvels of these people because they're earth people. And he began to see the wisdom that had an educative superiority in thinking, not in academic knowledge, but in concrete reality comprehension. That was the marvel of it. Because, as you know, anybody can know something, but what do you do with it? Knowing is just an initiative to something else. But if you don't understand it, it's not going to do you any good. And it's not going to do anybody else any good.
For example, everybody in Brazil, from the richest to the poorest, from the north to the south and east to the west, everybody knows the government is corrupt. Everybody. The little kids will tell you, oh, it's corrupt. That's knowledge. It's corrupt. But how many people really understand what that means? How many people know how that happened? How many people know that's why there's hunger in Brazil? There shouldn't be hunger, but there is. Brazil is not a poor financial country. Why is there so much hunger? So the understanding is what's important. And it comes from the knowledge. Once you get an understanding, then what? What happens?
See ways to change things.
You change it. Did everybody hear that?
See ways to change things.
Yeah, it's just what you're doing. You seek changes. And that's what popular education is all about. And Paulo Freire began forming a methodology for alphabetization because he believed, and we all believe it, when you can read and write, you can read what's coming from the government. You can read what's in the newspaper. You can read what's in a book. So he began with an alphabetization, a methodology that was a marvel. What happened to him? Exiled under the dictatorship. So the government took that methodology, turned it around, gave it another name, LBA, and brought it to the campo, saying the government wanted their people to be educated. But they manipulated the method. It actually turned to be a formal thing in the schools and in the communities. With adults, they tried. Later, when Paulo Freire returned to Brazil, he supported, and would you tell them, I'm just telling this very briefly. Tell them this is very brief.
Yeah, you can tell them. What the story
The
is.
story of Paulo.
Yeah. This one, I think it
Okay.
is brief.
I'm not telling you
Oh,
I'm just pulling little pieces. Anyway, when it came back, when the dictatorship fell, Paulo Freire dedicated himself helping what was called the movement of landless people, NEST, the movement of landless people.
So se lo conoscete come Centro, movimento Centro.
Yeah. And the movement started 30 years ago. And Paulo Freire realized that this movement would produce a tremendous amount of good work with popular education. And today, the movement has become a touch international. And in that movement, there is a health sector. And I was invited in January to São Paulo in their 30-year celebration. And it was a week long. And I joined the group that worked with health. And it's fabulous what they're doing. And I've known the group ever since 1999. I've known the group in Maranhão. And we've become very good friends. And we do a lot of exchanging. And so the movement that we're in, the health movement, PHM, in Brazil we call it NEST. So I say NEST and MESCP are boyfriend and girlfriend. And I think we're going to have a marriage pretty soon, so that everybody will be in MESCP. But the idea is we are connected with other movements that are social movements promoting popular education.
I came to popular education and to Paulo Freire also because of involvement with people in different movements. When I've lived in Central America since 1968. And in 1970, I began to work in a project on the east coast of Nicaragua with indigenous people. And I worked with a Capuchin priest who was a liberation theologian. And liberation theology grows out of movements in Latin America, so that people are not thinking that God is up there, but our need to work on social justice issues. And so this priest that I worked with taught me how to introduce popular education into the kind of work I was doing, but to do it using the philosophy of Paulo Freire. I had known about popular education. I had worked on participatory education, but because of my work with this Capuchin priest, I had to study the theory of Paulo Freire, which is all about what Annie's saying, having an understanding, but acting on that understanding, and then reflecting on it afterwards, so that you can keep moving forward. So I was working with indigenous people who speak their own language, and we developed ways of working with the people by using drawings. Paulo Freire talked about codes. And there are different kinds of codes. You can have a song that's a code, that you have to decode the song. What does it mean? Or a word, or a picture, or role play. The idea is to carry out some cultural activity, and then that has a message, and then analyze what it's all about. So we've used all those methodologies, but we use particularly pictures, so that people could look at the pictures and tell us what they were thinking about that picture. And one of the main pictures that I use in my work with the Mestizo Indians in Nicaragua and also with the Mayan Indians in Guatemala was a bird sitting on a branch. These branches that birds sit on in their, not inside of a cage, no, but with clipped wings, and the bird can't fly away. And there are two birds flying overhead. And so we talked about the bird. And was this bird, how does this bird feel? Well, different people react in different ways, because they say, well, you know, that bird has guaranteed food and water. Well, what if the person doesn't give you food and water? What does he do? What goes through a bird's mind as he sees other birds flying by? And we had lots and lots of discussions about the bird. And that led into a whole discussion about freedom. What is freedom? Freedom from what? And we get into long discussions about freedom. This is called awareness building. This is called concientización. And it takes a long, long time. It's not something that you can do in a half an hour or an hour's class. It takes a long time because people have to start realizing that they can have an opinion. When we do these sessions, every single person has to talk. We can't do that this afternoon. But every single person has to give an opinion, even if they repeat the opinion of another person. They have to know that they have a right to an opinion. I'm not a farmer. I grew up in a rural area, but I never lived on a farm. And the people that I was working with were rice farmers. What do I know about rice farming? I don't know anything about rice farming. So I had to get them to tell me about rice farming. I'm supposedly the teacher, right? But the idea of popular education, of liberating education, is that you and I are both teachers, and you and I are both learners. You have something to teach me that I don't know about, and I have something I can share with you. And so we learn to respect the knowledge of each other. And that's been the principle of the kind of education that Annie's been involved in, and that I have been involved in different places in the world. But the problem is, it takes time. And most people don't want to take time. It takes years. I work with Mayan Indians in Guatemala who live almost as serfs on plantations. They were almost serfs. It was a feudal system. Feudal system on the coffee plantation. No? So the people were born on that plantation, they lived and worked on that plantation, and they died. So when we had discussions with some of these people who worked on these plantations, they did not understand the concept of freedom. Because they were not free. They were not free. And because we did that kind of work, of making people aware of their situation, we were called subversives. And people died doing the same kind of teaching that I was doing. They were killed for doing that because that was subversion, right? Popular education is subversive because you're helping people to examine their situation and to act upon that situation. And if you're in an oppressive situation or a repressive situation, what you want to do is get out of it, no? And that means taking action. So the kind of education we've been involved in becomes labeled subversive and communist. Communist was really bad. It was bad to be a communist, right? But it was very bad to be a communist in Central America or in Latin America with the military dictatorship. So you get labeled a communist, and you labeled a subversive, and they can oust you from where you are, or they can kill you. No? So lots of people don't want to do this kind of education because it's taking a risk. It's taking a risk because you believe in justice issues. So now we are not fighting military dictatorships. No. Military dictatorships sort of went out of fashion because the corporations came in and dominated us in other ways, unfortunately. You know, very soon, in July, there's going to be an international court held here to examine what was done by the Operación Condor. The Condor operation was the operation of the military dictatorship supported by the United States against people who were working for change in South America. And our colleague and friend, Nila Heredia, who is the ex-minister of Health of Bolivia, will be coming here to give her testimony because her compañero, who was an Argentinian, disappeared under the dictatorships of South America. And not until today, till now, is there even a question of coming forward with what really happened in Operación Congo. No. She's been one of the leaders of a movement of the disappeared people in her country for years and years. It takes a long time to get justice. No. Even after the dictatorships disappeared, it takes a long, long time because people don't want to talk about those days. But I say that because that's part of what many people who are in popular education are involved in. They're involved in justice issues, and justice issues, injustices continue today, even as they did in the time of dictatorships. And we want to work against the injustice that there is in the world. And there are a lot of them related to health issues. But for us, health is all of this. Health is fighting against the multinational companies. Health is saying that open pit mining is bad for people. No?
Definitions. Can we stop right here from talking? Health, give us a definition. Hurry up. Health is.
I mean, it's fighting against the.
Health is. It's what? Health.
Anche in italiano.
Sì, lo stato di benessere globale.
Global well-being.
Okay, health is. Health is.
Yeah, something similar, like like a state of peace of your mind, your body, and your soul.
Nicholas, health is.
Living without contradictions.
Wow! Health is.
Happiness.
Happiness.
Anticipation.
Health is.
Dare la possibilità a tutti di studiare alla stessa maniera
Everyone the possibility to study.
e sviluppare un pensiero critico grazie allo studio.
Health is.
Being able to express yourself completely.
Health is.
Feeling well with myself and with the society I live in.
Health is.
I feel good.
Health is.
Well, a state of global well-being and the autonomy to decide what's a well-being for you.
Health is.
Balance with the work.
Health is.
Feeling good in the environment you live.
Health is.
Wellness and well-being.
Health is.
Ben vivere.
Health is.
Wellness.
Got
I would say happiness.
Annie?
Very good.
No, and for Annie, what is it?
For all the definitions of health.
For you.
Okay, now they go ahead.
Well, I've been saying what it is. It's justice in modern world. But the thing is, when you start with a small group of people in a community and you ask what health is, they talk about the doctor, the health center, the medicine. That's not health. That's the illness industry. And it's an industry. You belong to an industry. Yeah? Sorry about that. But it's true. And this industry, maybe in your country it's better, but you know, I talk to students who come to Nicaragua to do a rotating a period of rotation in health clinics in Nicaragua. And the United States has one of the worst health systems in the world, if not the worst, no? and to confront students with what is the health system doing to people in the United States, where there are already 40 million people that don't have access to health care. And when they want to get it, a political party does everything to try to destroy anything that's even near a little bit of access to health care for people. It's just incredible how unjust the system is, you know? But most people, when you talk about health, start talking about this medical system. And that's not what health is. Health is happiness. Health is being able to live in harmony with other people, but also with nature. And this is what we learned from indigenous people. We are part of nature. We're not something separate, but we've set ourselves up as something separate so that we can exploit the rest of nature. We cut down trees, we mine the ground, you know, we destroy the earth by using pesticides. We do all these things that are destructive of nature, and we are part of that nature. But we've been taught to think of those as natural resources for our exploitation. I remember in South Africa having a discussion about mining, and this one person said very clearly, diamonds are not worth anything. It's what human beings have said that diamonds are. What's a diamond? It's a piece of rock. No? But it has all this value, but it's not intrinsic in the diamond. It was created by a human being that mine it and sell it. It's the same thing with gold, or silver, or platinum, or whatever. No? They don't have any intrinsic value within themselves. They're part of nature, but yet we learn to exploit them to make, not us. Companies exploit them to be able to sell them and make lots and lots of money for their stakeholders. So that's part of health, is dealing with those injustices that keep people from having a happy, healthy, non-sick life. Living in harmony with nature, something said harmony in my life. That's an indigenous way of thinking. Okay, I'm going to interrupt you.
No problem. I'd rather have never your speak, to tell you the truth. And I will do the dynamics. No, but health is harmony. We are promoting, as health workers, the concept of the indigenous groups that originated the terms we're using comes out of Ecuador. But it's been going on for years among our indigenous communities. And they call it, I think in English,
Sumac.
Yeah, in Spanish. But like in English, it's like well-being, not being well, but well-being. And there's a big difference between being well and well-being. Being it, I'm going back to that word, just be there, be there, is what all of you tried to say health is. Every term that you use can be adapted into that methodology. And it's a system of relationships. It's how you relate to one another and how you relate with nature. Now, Maria brought that out. That's very important. We are a part of nature. Nature does not exist without us, and we do not exist without nature. We came from the same, well, if you want to say stardust, okay. If you want to say earth, doesn't matter. It's nature. We came from that, and we're going to go back to that. At least the body is. And our relationship with nature is what gives us energies. And all of you know, all of you, you're all medical students, the aura we have in our body. When you're close to each other, you can feel it. So you can already, just by being close to somebody, without touching, but just close, you can already feel or sense whether the person is nervous or not, whether the person is happy or not. It's tremendous. And it's all part of this this wonderful creation that we call nature. So we're part of it. What's happened to us? Modern society, I mean, you all know the history of society, how it began with primitive, that comes down from feudalism to liberalism, and then capitalism, and then neoliberalism, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, what happens is we're all mechanical. And that's a crime. That's a crime. We should not be mechanical. But what makes us mechanical? The system. You're all here because you were invited, because you belong to the university. The university is a structure, and it's a tough one. It's a very restricted structure. And this is called Freire worked hard at this, to move the structure of the university. Well, he didn't succeed completely, but he certainly has, in Brazil, gained a tremendous movement to try to get the, as I mentioned today, it's only 2 years since the Brazilian government finally is changing the methodology of teaching medical students. First time since the 20s, I say, maybe before the 20s, but because the system has been imposed. And so anyway, they're trying to move that now. But that's because the word mechanical gives you the idea that you're dealing with robots. And for me, that's exactly what the transnational industries are. Their representatives are robots. You come in contact with high officials from the great international, transnational companies. They're all the same. They're well dressed, they're smiling, the men are shaved, they got ties, the women have nice skins. They look at you, they smile, and they say, "Oh, you're wonderful. You know, we need somebody like you to help us get better." I mean, come on. And I'm saying that sincerely. It's experience, and it's drastic experience. 2013, February, I was in Belém, which is a city where I don't live, but we were in meetings. And I arrived back in San Luis in the evening and had a telephone call that evening from a coworker who said, "Annie, you've got to get up here to Santa Rita. It's a community." He said, "The people have decided to stop the Valley train, which carries bauxite crew into San Luis."
You have to explain this.
Qual è una compagnia estrattiva mineraria? E il treno, nel Maranhão c'è una zona estrattiva di un materiale che si chiama bauxite, che serve per le tecnologie, serve per produrre altre cose. E la compagnia sta distruggendo tutta l'area, che c'è un area enorme perché c'è una grande miniera, e trasportano con un treno la bauxite dall'interno fino a San Luis. Nord-est del Brasile, zona sulla costa, verso già l'area dal tropico equatoriale.
Okay. The train has 350 wagons, and each wagon has 109 tons of bauxite. Now that's 150. And the train goes through 27 municipalities, 4 of them coming down from Carajás in the state of Pará, and the others are in Maranhão. Now they cut through these communities, indigenous communities, in Quilombo communities. And the train doesn't come like every hour on the hour. There's no on the hour, okay? But it's frequent. It can be 1 hour for one train, it can be an hour and a half, or it can be 55 minutes. But it's constant, 24 hours, 24 hours a day, a night too. So what happens? It cuts right through the community. So you've got this side and this side. The children that are trying to go to school on the other side of the tracks can't get there. So sometimes the train stops and the kids go and the train goes. So this is one of our big health challenges that we are battling with. It's not only accidents, it's also deafness. At night, the children can't sleep. The babies cry. The houses begin to crack. And so it's just, well, you can imagine as medical students, the outcome of a train going at that rate and blowing the whistle and the sound and the fumaça, the smoke, the pollution. So it's all, this doesn't even touch our communities that are being affected by the factories that are there. Just, so the people have had, in all these several years now, demanding their rights. So we've had public audiences with the federal minister of justice, but the industry has been charged with illegal functioning, but has never been called to court. And they say, we're going to keep working until we're called. So the people decided popular education and, can we go to please base Christian communities. They are united. So they got together. 3 of the communities decided to stop the train. Of course, that's illegal. They stopped it. So my friend called me and said, get up here. So the next morning, I got up there. And the people had written a note, sent it to the representatives of Valley, we're going to stop the train. And so Valley stopped the train because they knew the people would stay there. But they sent their representatives, 5 of them, and I was present. And the people were all camped out, 3 solid communities, including the children. Most people came on motorcycles. You know, that's the guy. And it began to rain. So everybody was under plastic. And all of a sudden, these 5 representatives from Valley showed up, and they're standing there, and we have pictures all over this. And the people are Quilombos, so they were out there with their long drums sitting on it, hanging on the drums, okay?
They're African. Sì, erano gli schiavi che erano scappati durante il periodo della schiavitù, che andavano a nascondersi in villaggi, in zone remote, dove non venivano trovati dalla polizia o dall'esercito, e fondavano delle comunità che sono rimaste isolate per secoli. Anche dopo che è finita la schiavitù, molti di quelli che erano stati liberati, siccome non trovavano lavoro e non avevano possibilità di sopravvivenza perché erano disoccupati, andavano nelle comunità per cercare, dove c'era campagna, dove c'erano altre possibilità, per avere sopravvivenza. Quindi sono comunità afrodiscendenti che hanno una lunghissima tradizione, una grande identità, e vivono in maniera separata perché spesso hanno le tradizioni africane.
Thank you. And so they have a little bonfire to tighten the leather on their drums, so they're all there. And these 5 incredible representatives show up. And the people had demanded from Bali that they build an overpass so people can go over. And the Bali promised it, and it was over 3 years they hadn't touched it. So the representatives came and said to the people, your message was received, and this is the answer. And they read the answer. And in the answer, they said they couldn't accept some of the petitions of the people, but they would start building in another year and a half. They would start building. It says, we won't take it, we're going to stay here until you start building and we see it. So, anyway, there was a lot of discussion going on. One of them was recorded, and some, a member, his name was Sergio, says, they said, okay, we'll take your response back, and tomorrow we will return it. Sergio says, when you return tomorrow, please don't bring the police. They all have weapons and our children are afraid. Of course, there were police all over. I mean, if I gave a description, it would be here all night. But anyway, the police were there. And it says, what is your name?
Milo.
No. What is your name? He said, my name? Yeah, what is your name? He said, my name is Comunidade. My name is community. Because what they've done since then is gotten the names of those they think are leaders, and they're processing them in court. Because it is illegal to stop the train. But they're blaming the leaders, and there's no leaders. And well, there's teams, and there's no one leader. It's all teams, because that's our communities. People work in teams like you do, and that's why I'm admiring you to no end. And so that's just only a tiny piece of what we're doing. That's only a drop in the bucket. But just to give you a concrete example of how what popular education does. Now, I didn't start it, my friend didn't start it, but the people have realized they have value. When I first went to Brazil, and the same thing when I was in Nicaragua, I learned from the people in the campo, and there's a lack of self-esteem. They think everybody else is a person, but I'm not. So since 73, I began to understand it. That has been the root of my beginning, helping people to understand self-esteem and helping people to understand their own value. Before anything else, don't talk about health, don't talk about anything. Talk about health. Helping people to realize I am somebody, that I can speak. That's the basis for popular education. When we want to teach, you learn from them. Sure. And you keep helping, and you keep working with them. You do with them. You don't stand apart and watch. You go to the river and we wash clothes with them. You go to the river and we take a bath with them. And then on one side and then on the other side. Sometimes they get together. Anyway. But it's the part of being popular that Maria was talking about. Popular, popolare. People, person to person, interpersonal relationships, harmony, minds open to listen, minds open to receive, and a spirit, the spirit of willingness to change. You have to change here first. No one else is going to change if I don't change. And I'm not gonna make anybody change, I don't try. I don't try. I have to do the changing. I'm the one that's changing. And I'm telling you, I'm changing all the time. I just changed from yesterday to today. Listening to little Mary over there. She's good. But that's part and soul of popular education. And I just want to say one little thing. Maria mentioned that when you ask somebody, you know, what is health, everybody has a stereotype image. It's the same with religious. Sisters, I don't know what you call them in Swat. Yeah, the Swat. The same, you know. It's the same thing. There's a difference, a big difference between being religious and spiritual. Most of us are seeking with nature and the people, spirituality. And that, for me, is the engine that propels my energy. And it comes from reflections on the gospel of Jesus. Jesus was a daredevil. Jesus was a revolutionary. He knocked the systems back and forth. He knocked them right down. But the people don't interpret Jesus today that way. Jesus is a statue. Oh, Jesus. Jesus was God. And he was a popular educator. In my Bible, I've got written on the edge, formal education, popular education, all over. Try reading the Gospels again. Just see where. How many times he said to his apostles, "You dum-dums, how long have I been with you and you don't understand? Wake up." He was stuck. Peter said, hey, stand up. Jesus, Peter, get behind me, you don't understand. You know what problem Jesus had? Jesus had problems. His biggest problem was language. You know what it was? He had a divine nature language, but only human words to express it. And they didn't understand. That's the problem. When you understand it, well, it motivates you. And you're out there, and like Mary said, it's risk. But who cares about risk? You're only here once in your lifetime. I mean, I don't even know why I'm here until 90 years. You know, I get risk for so much. You know, 10 years ago, one of our sisters, Dorothy Stanley, was murdered. She was shot with 6 bullets in on a boat in Pará. They're doing the same thing. She was our sister. And this year we're commemorating 10 years of it. And I did bring some little things in. I'll give them to you. And this group, I don't have enough for everybody, but there would be enough for this group. I'm doing it. Okay? I'll give for, Dorothy had the courage to confront rich landowners who were saying the land was theirs and it wasn't. She did everything by law. By law. That's what we help the people understand the law, so that when they're doing their manifestations, demonstrations and manifestations, they know what they're doing and they know how to. But the police are horrible. We've had some of our own professors and not like police and all that. But anyway, the idea of this whole movement on promoting the health or health for the people is nothing that's begun today. As Maria said, she was working many years ago, so were we, years ago, promoting the idea of collective, the value of collective action. Okay, I think I talked too much.
Well, she spoke about Dorothy. They're celebrating the 10 years of Dorothy's assassination. On Saturday, the Monsignor Romero will be beatified in El Salvador. Monsignor Romero was a Catholic priest who became aware of what was happening with people in his country when one of his best friends was killed. And then he began to speak out. And he spoke out against the injustice, he spoke out against the war that was being waged against the people in his country. Every single Sunday he would give a homily, and people, it was on the radio, and people would listen to it all over Central America. You know? And one day he said that he asked the army to stop killing people. 2 days later, he was shot while he was saying mass in a convent in San Salvador. And for years, the people have wanted the Vatican to recognize Monsignor Romero. And it was not until Pope Francis came that they accepted this, because they're saying that the struggle of these people, and many priests and religious and lay people died in the Central American conflict, in the different countries of Central America, particularly people who were religious, were targeted by the armies because they beat people, they fought people and made people black. And so there was no way that Monsignor Romero was going to be declared saint until Francis came along, and Francis knew Monsignor Romero. And so this Saturday, thousands of people are descending on San Salvador to celebrate San Romero de las Americas.
Can I just say, interject? Before this present Pope decided to do this, the people of Central America, with the people of Latin America, canonized him anyway. So he's been called Saint Romero since the day after he was shot. So he said, we don't need Vatican to canonize somebody. Say somebody's a saint. But you know something? I don't know here if everybody here has been baptized or not, but you know, my groups, I think we work with Buddhists, and we work with, I'm on an ecumenical and interfaith committee. So I work with different religions. So usually when I'm talking, if I want to say something on the Catholic side, I say, how many of you have been baptized? It doesn't matter if it's Catholic or not. So I don't know if all of you have been baptized. But if you have been baptized, given the Bible, St. Paul, once you're baptized, you are a saint. He called his co-worker, he called everybody saints because they were baptized. So what's happened to the words, you know, my big fish on the words get mal interpreted. They get badly translated and interpreted. They think of a saint when you think of a statue. There's somebody up there somewhere. And saints are everywhere. But I love that song from Saints from Mars. That's a football team in the States. But it's just the way we manipulate words, everybody. This is another aspect of popular education. When we're working with the people who try to clarify, find out what the people know and the words to use them. And that's, but I do want to say that she was always saying that some people. So, but, okay.
Now, why don't you ask us something? Somebody can translate it. You don't want to say it.
If popular education was made for Central Brazil and people who haven't gone through so much formal education? What are the problems of teaching it, or unteaching people who have had so much formal education?
I love it. Well,
Sorry, just to sì, l'educazione popolare è per la gente che non hanno fatto tutto l'università e tutto il resto, che sono il problema dello stare con gente troppo educata.
Sta chiedendo quali sono i problemi e le difficoltà da applicarle in contesti dove le persone sono troppo educazione.
I'm sorry, I have to go to the station. I'm sorry, I have to go. Bye.
Okay,
ciao cara.
You want to say something for
Yeah, about this question, I want to ask something about prayer, because it's the same thing. Because when prayer came in Europe, it was I think the period when it was working with the theater of the I don't know how to say English, and he arrived at the conclusion that this kind of education couldn't be applied in Europe. So how?
The popular education or
Il teatro l'ho perso, cioè perlomeno la forma come deve essere sviluppato in Brasile. How could the popular education break the wall which formal education
has constructed?
And it's very hard because, as I said, you have to take time. You have to know everybody who's in your group. You have to give everybody a chance to talk. And formal education is confined by the room, the time, the teacher, no? So very like to, but we can decode all the time. I usually do an exercise with people in people's health movement, but I can't do it. But we can do exercises with you to help you get a sense of what popular education is, just by having you participate in something. And Annie's going to do something a little bit later. But in any case, I think that to think of it in a broad context of changing the educational system so it would be more a popular education, I think that that would be very hard to do. But it isn't only done with people who are illiterate or people who are oppressed, because we're all oppressed by something. No, it's to discover what it is that is oppressing you and learning to deal with it. But like I say, it takes time, and we don't live in systems that take time. We're always rushing from one place to another. We're always connected to something. No? I mean, how many of you have a cell phone? Everybody has a cell phone, right? Some people have 2 cell phones because they have 2 chips, or I don't know, 3 cell phones, and they'll say, hey, a tablet and a computer. People are connected all the time. To do this kind of work, you have to disconnect and reflect on what's going on. I guess I could do an exercise with a cell phone, right? I won't do it now, but you get the idea. We have to learn to reflect on the kinds of things that are happening. I asked a question earlier about something that really concerns me, and it's all those people who are dying on those boats trying to get from one place to another. And that's happening in the Mediterranean. But it also happens in our countries of Central America, where people are on their way going to the United States to find the great dream, and they end up in a detention center. And for a while, my daughter was translating for people. My daughter's in Nicaragua, Mosquito Indian. And she was working in detention centers for people who are illegal. And the shirt that she wears says, there's no such thing as illegal. You may not have a document. You can't use the word illegal. You're non-documented, no? And so they wear shirts that say, I'm an undocumented person. But the thing is, there are so many ways that we are kept from reflecting on what's happening in the world. And part of it is that we're subjected constantly, because you get the news on your cell phone, to what the transnational, the mass media wants you to learn about. And if you want to learn about alternatives, you have to search for alternative sources of information. Isn't that true? But you are people who want to be alternatives. I guess that's why they're here. Why you work in the center. You want things to be different. So you need to search for that alternative information, and you need to reflect upon it. Not just by yourselves, not as individuals, but as part of a community that wants to change things. That's why we have a people's health movement, right? And so that people can come together to reflect on things and to have many different interests. There are people who want to work on the mining industry, and there are other people who are not interested in that at all. And I have a particular soapbox that I'm always on for many, many years, and that's breastfeeding. I encourage people to breastfeed, and they look at me like, who has time to breastfeed? I mean, it's just disgraceful, right? That people will not find the very best food for their newborn child.
Yeah. Can you, I think this is very, very, very interesting, give some example how to use popular education in health. Can you give some example of how to use that?
How to use popular education?
For health.
For health?
Yes, this example of breastfeeding or other, I don't know, other example. Just to show what is the difference in which we learn about breastfeeding or other diseases, and what is the way that people use a popular education.
One of my friends, when she's teaching anatomy, to health promoters, she has somebody come forward, they strip down, they're not naked, but they strip down, take their clothes off, and she starts drawing on their bodies where the organs are. And she lets them listen to the heartbeat and listen to the lungs, It's interacting. I mean, there are people who go to medical school and never even get to see a body. You probably did, right?
Only died.
Most of you got to see a body in the autopsy.
Only a died body.
Yeah, a dead body. You saw a live body. But there are medical schools where they have no opportunity to have a cadaver that they can work on and they can open up and see. And much less a health promoter that isn't even a medical student, maybe has 3 years of formal education. Are you going to let those people cut up things? Well, they have to fix up the cut up things, right? What I mean is health promoters are on the first line of when somebody is in an accident or is injured in the field or in the home, they need to know what to do. So anyway, the point is that she uses the living body as the blackboard, and lets them listen. That's popular education and teaching about health. That's just one simple example.
Okay, I'd like to give you another example. I'm sorry, I really want to bring something and I forgot. But since you're all medical students, you can imagine. I'm going to have you do an exercise, but you're going to have to imagine it. Just to answer your question. We're saying, you have to remember, upper education takes ages. In Alcantara, I was working with a group of Quilombola women. And in the group, they came from 3 communities. Now, in the group, there was only 20 people. I don't take more than 20 if I'm doing a workshop. But I always have a team with me and 2 other people, not just me. And we all know the rules and regulations, blah, blah, blah. Now, out of the 20, I think there was 2 professors, two women who taught grammar school, but home grammar school. I think that altogether, I think there were maybe 6 who could read and write well. All of them can sign their names, but that's about it. So they're analphabetists. I'm teaching anatomy. You know anatomy? What's anatomy?
Anatomia.
Okay. How do you teach anatomy to a person who can't read and write and isn't a medical student?
You start with what they know.
You take their body and you do experiments. Okay, we're going to do one now without the material. I'm going to give each one of you a cracker. Cracker? No.
Okay, that's time for me to go.
Perché sei a dieta, Giulia è a dieta. Obrigado. Yes, do you have a
Now listen carefully. You have to listen. Let's quiet. Take one body. Just here. Gustoso, it's good, huh?
Yes.
Listen. Take another bite. Chew it 50 times. Don't swallow. Chew it 50 times. Don't swallow. Chew it. Okay. What happened? What happened?
We all eat.
Hmm?
We all eat.
What happened with that guy? Oh, the women are sharp. I'll tell you right away.
What happened? I have nothing in the mouth.
I should have brought the crackers.
It's becoming liquid.
It turned into liquid.
Yeah.
Turned into, but it wasn't liquid when you took a bite. It was solid. But why did it turn into liquid? What's in the crackers? So they all tell me there's wheat, there's eggs, but it all turns into liquid. Okay, okay. Take another bite. This time chew 3 times and swallow. Okay. What happened?
It's difficult.
Most of them choked. Okay. Okay. Now, quietly. Take another bite.
And finish.
Now this time, concentrate. Where did the liquid come from? Go ahead, Chu. Where did the liquid come from? You're students, you should know that. Where did it come from?
Dalla saliva.
Salivary glands.
Where did it come from? Under the tongue. Okay. Under the tongue. What do you have under the tongue? That's how we do it. And then finally we tell them, you know, glands, and then, but this is, it takes ages. I don't start with that. That's not where we start. We start with drawing a picture. We put them into groups, and they draw arms, they draw legs. The group that draws legs and arms do that. Then the trunk and the head. Then we put those together. It's up there, they're drawings, and we ask them, what do you call this? They all have different names. And we said, well, what does the doctor call this? Got it? So by the time we're finished, they're able to talk to anyone. But I tell you, it takes time. That's it.
That's how we teach children also about the difference between men and women. And the difference between sex and gender. And we also learn the different names that people have for different words.
You know, in education, we did not plan the session. Normally, we have a methodology. And in general, it's kind of reflection, action, reflection. But I've developed another complete methodology for my people, which is more detailed, better for training trainers. But we don't ever have a session without an evaluation. Evaluations is one of the most important aspects of anything you do in teaching or learning. So we're going to do a little evaluation, okay? Real quickly. I forgot the factor. Here, help me get these on. Have you take one?
Take the lighter colored ones.
Oh, yeah, take the lighter ones. Don't back up the lighter. That's okay.
Thank you.
It doesn't have to be white. Just don't take the dark.
Just not black.
Qualcuno ce l'ha scuro?
Okay. Where's Miller? Where are you?
Roll them up. Well, find another one.
So mangiare. Mazzica. Poi dai,
Where's the big ones too?
about what?
Don't throw them up so much.
Big what? Pennarello?
Maybe you give to every third person so that they.
Me lo chiudi, papà? I have other one.
Mi sono preparato già a essere genitore.
Io ho una pennarello. Pennarelli.
Somebody has the big one.
Yeah.
The big one.
Okay.
Is the biggest.
Have you got one? Then use it.
No, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Has everybody got a marker? Yes. Now listen carefully.
Yeah.
We have a little acronym section, that was only a section. In this session, what impressed you of value for you? Write one word or two words, don't write long sentences. What impressed you for value for yourself? What did you get out of this?
Quale cosa di importante per te? Sì, cioè che hai preso da oggi che forte conta per te.
And write it on the balloon. Yeah, one or two words, but not the whole sentence. Just what was meaningful. Tie a knot in the balloon. Okay?
Sì, si cancella. Qualcuno ha bisogno?
Yeah? Everybody ready? Okay, now put the pen on the chair. Put your pen on the chair and stand up.
No, solo aperto.
Put the pen on the chair.
Lascia sulla penna.
Hey, bravo. Okay, you're going to throw the balloons and you're going to bang. Now, scoot bene. Just run them all over this room. And when I cut my hands, pick up one balloon, but not yours. I don't pick up the wrong color. When I cut my hands, okay? Yeah, so go ahead, throw them out. Don't let them go on the floor. Get them on the air.
Ma poi ero tutto aggravato, adesso non c'è niente.
Don't pick up the wrong.
Sei predestinata.
Non è possibile.
Anche io l'ho fatto la prima.
È possibile?
Sì, no, hai guardato.
Tutti avete fatto.
No, stavo
No, figurati.
Beh, ma è assurdo.
Allora, è il destino.
L'hanno nascosto loro.
Io sono tuoi.
Yeah.
Sì.
Did everybody use a balloon?
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody?
Yes.
Agora, now we have a question. Where did the balloon go?
Did you take it?
You, Annie, you take it?
No, I didn't.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not.
Maria?
I'm apt to. Maria, where is it? Well, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do about that. I never had a super.
No, questa
Avevo sentito. È possibile.
Ne manca un rosso perché ce n'era rosso, c'era quello giusto. Sì.
Allora è su una sedia non si vede.
Questo sarebbe meglio.
Forse per quello che si è perso il tuo. Vabbè.
Oh, siete...
Okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm sorry about that. We'll start with each eye. Here, and we will read out loud what is on each room. This will be what comes out of your evaluation.
Courage and lealtà.
Loyalty. Very good.
Cohabitation.
Self-involvement. Sensibility. Sperimentare.
Self-confidence. Reflection, action, reflection.
Sì, lo faccio dopo. Relax and reflect and sun and sea. Picture of sun and sea.
Quali?
Mental demonstration.
Enthusiasm and choices.
Mission experience.
Then Annie. Listen. Ah! Listen.
Non vuoi ripetere un'altra volta? Qua portai. Viste? Deve essere cinese.
Time. Time.
No, è il tuo.
L'ho sabotato.
Perché avevo esagerato. Avevo esagerato.
Anyway, cosa c'era scritto?
Okay, now in general, anybody say what you think or kids what you want to say about what everybody else said. You heard all the different reactions of each person, right? You don't know who wrote them for the most part, which is good, you're not supposed to. Now, tell what you think about that. Any comment?
Adesso avete sentito le parole che hanno detto gli altri. Sì. Qual è il vostro commento su che cosa è stato detto da noi? Sì.
So very abstract. They were abstract.
Abstract.
But I'm impressed by the fact that many of the stories that we heard were about oppression and suffers. I mean, all that came out was quite energetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's a good, the times when we have confidence about problems, the energy goes down, people get depressed, but I tend to be okay.
Where's my pharmacist?
I'm more motivated.
To found the balloon.
I think that most of us go home with ideas about the way of doing our passion, of doing things in life. So, for example, we said courage, we say self-involvement, we say way of doing things. So, informal. Antonio.
I'm impressed. The word impressed me was time, because it's very difficult for me to sometimes find time for myself. It's everything very fast, and I sometimes I think this world is too fast for me. I just want to I'm just say when you take off from the bus. I just want to take 5 minutes, I go away, and I come back and go on. I'm incoming, and I think that's a really a big problem. Because there's a fast food, fast everything, fast, and what I find it's very interesting is that now there are many movements that are slow something, slow medicine, slow food, slow. What's anything? I don't know.
I feel very many positivity and energy from this group. Yeah.
I really like a lot of enthusiasm, and for me it's really important to be positioned, to make choices. I brought choice as a word that I'm thinking about. The idea of choose a position and defend them, fight for it, and spend a lot of energy to it. So it's something that I'm reflecting about.
Posso dire in italiano? Perché in inglese sennò facciamo una carta solo. No, diciamo che mi sono un po' di speranza. Cioè, la società attuale un po' ci demoralizza, anche la crisi economica che c'è stata negli ultimi anni ha fatto sì che tanta gente non avesse più speranza nel futuro, che non ci fosse più uguaglianza per tutti. Però sentendo le vostre storie, i vostri progetti, sono rimasto veramente colpito, perché dimostra che lavorando insieme con le persone si può sviluppare qualcosa.
So, we're not, no, but I got you. So you said he regained hope because in this country, and particularly after the crisis, people are not hoping with anything better. People are suffering, people are demoralized and depressed. So by listening to your stories and what you shared with us, he got courage and he was, yeah, oh, I love you. Awesome.
Me too.
Sì. Capito che mi si va a parlare. Io vergogno e uso sempre le stesse parole.
No, poi la cosa che dico in italiano, che siamo troppo, cioè già. Secondo me molte persone non hanno neanche, cioè sono talmente inquadrate che non ascoltano quello che io ascolto, cioè non pensano che sia un'alternativa. E quindi è proprio una cosa fuori dal mondo, anche solo parlare di temi come queste 2 ore. Cioè per noi che siamo bene male nel... Ok, però cioè, mi rendo conto sempre più che chi non è appunto addetto al lavoro proprio è estraneo a queste cose, quindi cioè, ci vorrebbe proprio un movimento che portasse dentro queste persone che sono fuori.
So she's saying that people in this period of time are very structured in the system. So that's why they were listening to me that they can't even listen, they can't even believe that there is an alternative, that can be an alternative. So she says that having the possibility of, I mean, for some of them who are introduced some discourses, it's okay, but so many people don't even get exposed to it. So she wishes that there was a movement that was able to reach those people who are.
What?
Perché non inizi tu questo movimento di chiamare.
No, sì, io certo.
No, no. Every evening.
They work with money, so it's very hard.
They work
with money in system like no, sì, intendono quel mondo lì.
A commercialismo.
You know, a friend of mine is a medical doctor in Argentina, and he's an educator. And there is this like very, very large suburb outside of Buenos Aires that's called Matanzas, like Matanzas in Cuba. And they started a university in Matanzas about 10 years ago for people from this area because it's in lower income. And so they wanted to encourage people to have a higher education after high school, and they started a university. And about 3 years ago, Mario and some other people started a medical school in Matanzas. And it's a medical school where from the very first day you go to medical school, you work in the community. And the first exercise you do is to go do an encuesta, a survey of fellow students about sexual and reproductive health. That's something all young people like to talk about. So I went to that school. Most of the students, almost over half of the students, are women that many times we didn't have an opportunity to go on to medical school. And they work all over Buenos Aires in different health centers and clinics and so on. But from the very first weeks that they're in the medical, alternative medicine. And that's what some of us feel that medical school should do, because you get in the medical school and you're in this very formal education system and with a lot of memorization and so on and so forth. And you forget that you're becoming a doctor with human beings, you know? And help them get well if they're sick, or to help them not get sick, which is not the way the industry works, right? Not that industry I was talking But I just wanted to share that because it's very exciting place. But there are people who want to have his medical school be closed. It's closed. It's the system. They're learning to question the system. So there are private medical schools and even people in public medical schools that want it to be destroyed. You know? Yes, we'll see what happens. But there's hope.
But
You can build for hope.
No, io mi porto via questo incontro è un qualcosa di tante volte, soprattutto noi che abbiamo un'educazione formale, parliamo no, anche di queste cose, di cui abbiamo parlato, di questo esempio dell'educazione eccetera, ma manca un po' proprio appunto forse per la formalità della nostra educazione le idee di come mettere da parte, esatto, e quindi a me faccio capire soprattutto la parte di pratica, ad esempio, come un po' se loro ci avessero educato come si educa, no? E quindi questo, cioè, è questo che io porto via, perché l'entusiasmo è sempre bello, però se prima poi delle possibilità non ci sono le idee, non c'è nulla. E a me piace proprio gli esempi di revelation.
Okay. So he said that from the perspective of a person who's been educated, formal education for so long, they often, even in the group, they often discuss these things. But so they have the ideas, they have also the enthusiasm, but they lack the practical examples, they lack the experiences of how to put this in practice. So what he really appreciated about this session was the dynamics and the practice, because it was like, for him, it was like being trained in the popular education, so experiencing being popularly educated. So this is what I think is the most relevant thing that he would carry on.
I think this is a very, very relevant thing. You normally, other colleagues, other professionals and students, when think about popular education, start thinking about how to teach what they know to people that have low knowledge, low scholarly education. So, and it's a very powerful, and I'm very happy about your comment, because at the end of the process, you come out with good ideas to use in your university. And I think it is a very powerful process. You go to teach and come back with some lessons to use in your everyday life. And this is really amazing how you can have good idea to use inside the university, inside the structure of the formal teaching, and to use with students. It's something that is happening with us too. We have started to do the elective courses, the ones that you have attended as formal classes, only with different items, different knowledge. And we are learning from popular education how to teach to the students using other methodologies.
Nicholas was asking me about learning from popular education, and I suggested that he get the book. We got the book, Helping Health Workers Learn, by David Warner and by Bill Wow. This book was written a number of years ago, but that doesn't matter, because everything that's in the book is quite relevant to today. It's called Helping Health Workers Learn. And it's all popular education. Oh,
Ciao.
Sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We also have to meet the,
Yeah.
the city.
Well, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Some of us have been working so long, so many decades, fighting for justice in this globe. that it is an absolute delight and energy-giving moment to be with you, knowing that in other parts of the world, in other countries, and I've been to many countries, but I've never been to Italy. We have lots of Italians working, a lot of Italians working in Brazil. And I know lots of Italians, many friends. But I've never been here. But to me, a group like this one is really just what you were saying. It's life-giving for me. It's worth the battle. And it gives a lot of energy to continue. I don't have many years. I might even have one more year. Any moment, I don't know. You're all medical students, right? How long does the heart keep beating? I don't know. But anyway, it's beating right now. So, one thing I would say to remember, a sense of humor is an arm, but not an arm that you fold. But it's an arm. Do you know what I mean? It's an instrument that can carry you through anything. You can learn to laugh at yourself first. Don't take yourself so seriously. Laugh at yourself for all your mistakes. Make mistakes, that's what we're all about. And it's the mistakes that help us learn more. But that is one of the biggest, for me, blessings I get. And I want you to know we're dealing with incredible suffering. Our people are being shot by bullets almost every day. It's no joke, but we don't lose the sense of humor. And it's not ha ha ha. It's the sense of humor is the part that comes from spirituality, believing in the divine goodness that I was created for that. It makes you happy. So that would be when you have all these, how do you change things? You just change them by doing it. Just go do it. How? Do it. How? Do it. Invent it. That's how. All these things are invented. You know, I never did that dynamic with anybody. If I get up and I can put it up. I mean, you can think of it in a minute. Just create it. Okay? You can do it. We all create it. Okay, thank you.